Welcome to PowerMation YouTube channel. My name is Andrew Jagger, Business Development Manager for the Controls products here at PowerMation. Today we're here to discuss the OEE solution from Horner Automation. But first, I'll introduce my team here. We have Meldia Sharpe. She's TSA from PowerMation. You've been with us for about 6 months?
Yes, about 6 months.
Yeah, welcome to the team.
Thank you.
We also have Tom Filipek, Technical Development Manager from Horner Automation.
Correct.
You've been a longtime partner with PowerMation and been working with you for over 10, 15 years.
Yes.
So that's been great. And you've been with Horner for a long time.
Number of different times.
Number of times. We are here to discuss the OEE solution. And Meldia, at your previous positions, you had experience in implementing OEE solutions. Can you tell us a little bit about what OEE means to you and to the industry?
Sure. So the traditional interpretation of OEE is overall equipment efficiency or overall equipment effectiveness. And this is basically a percentage measure of how much output your equipment is creating. Usually this was recorded manually, and it's still recorded manually by operators and technicians in some of the older facilities or facilities that haven't quite caught up with automation yet. So basically, they would have to manually record things like downtime, changeovers, and the quality of the products coming directly off of the line. But with this new Horner Solutions product, we can definitely collect a faster, more efficient, and more accurate version of OEE for your line.
Well said.
Tom, this OEE solution box from Horner Automation is actually a debut product for the Horner Solutions Group.
That is correct.
Can you tell me a little bit more about it?
I'll tell you a little bit about the Horner Solutions Group.
Yeah.
It's a new group within Horner to do pre-programmed solutions for customers, as well as custom hardware designs and custom software communication protocol development. So whenever a customer has a need that doesn't fit in our traditional automation products, the Solutions Group will be the team that kind of comes in and steps in to do that. So the OEE product was our first step into that, to do that custom pre-programmed solution of the OEE environment.
And who is asking for the OEE solution?
So we've been in this business a long time, and we've always had people out there that have asked us for tracking and monitoring uptime, downtime, good parts, bad parts, when you're down, why are you down. They've asked us to do it as a user-defined function block, which we thought about doing. And when we wrote this program, it ended up being so large in size and memory volume that it just flat out would not fit in a user-defined function block. So we kind of decided we would just make it as a product, developed completely as a turnkey solution, locked down, where customers that buy this will never touch the programming software to do anything with it. So,
Advantage with that.
Yeah.
What unique features does the Horner OEE solution bring to the table?
Well, the unique features that I believe it has, one of them is the fact that it can manually collect triggered data for a complete manual work cell, meaning that the operator is there on a workbench and there is no automation on it whatsoever. Mm-hmm. They're just going to reach over and touch the touchscreen to say, I've completed a cycle.
Okay.
Or I have a scrap part. And so traditionally, most OEE products out there are not going to even look at manual work areas. We also have the ability to quickly change this over to an automated sensor.
Okay.
So now any machine that's running with automation will have a trigger sensor that tells us that it's completed a cycle or it's generated a scrap count. So that's probably the biggest unique feature. And the fact that it's pre-programmed and done, meaning you've got a very short window to start up. So most of the competition out there will tell you they've just got hooks that you write your software.
Right.
This is already done for you, so the development and startup time is very short.
So versus me pulling out my laptop and writing some ladder logic and some HMI screens, you've already done all of that work. I go into your screen and I set up the configuration.
Correct.
And how long does that typically take on the first time that you're doing that?
So the average startup time on this would probably be anywhere between 15 minutes and 20 minutes for their first cycle. And then it's up and running and collecting data.
Great.
So, the customer that's out there used to writing stuff down on clipboards, right on boards, and running around and passing that information on to somebody to do data entry on their computer.
Yep.
This is going to provide all that information already automatically collected for them.
Great. Tom, you mentioned the competition out there in the OEE market. What does Horner Solutions Group OEE product bring to the table that is different than the competition?
Sure. So in looking at most of the PLC manufacturer products that are out there, their OEE offerings are that they have the tools for you to write your own. So it's really just communication protocol as input sensors, and then it's your ability to write the logic to do what it's supposed to do.
Okay.
On the software side of it, that's usually a cloud-based activity, and it's usually tied to a monthly charge for that. And so some companies are a little bit hesitant on wanting to do a monthly charge on this type of stuff right now. So what our product is kind of a little different than both of those, because it is pre-programmed and done, and we do not have any monthly charge for the OEE side of it, unless you're doing something with cellular, which is not us. That's a different monthly
Subscription.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
When you look at the configuration portion of the OEE solution, you mentioned that you could wire in a sensor for input that would be an accessory. What other accessories go along with this product?
Sure. So sometimes when we're trying to do communication and gather this information, it's either going to be a network connection or a Wi-Fi connection. So Wi-Fi would certainly be another option. And in our demo today, we do have Wi-Fi on here, so we can kind of show that a little bit. And then all of these boxes also have a USB port extended to the outside of the box.
Okay.
So if somebody wanted to transfer data files from the micro SD card inside, they can do it through a button to push it to the USB jump drive on the outside. Therefore, they don't ever have to open the box to do that. So those are a couple of accessories that'll be part of this.
Is there another method of transferring data off of the OEE solution?
Yeah, there's a number of different methods of getting the data off. So the transferring to USB drive is what I always called sneaker net.
Okay.
So you put your jump drive in there, you put on there, and you run across the plant. That's the sneaker part.
Yeah, wearing your shoes.
To get it to the other side of the plant. And that's an old school technology out there, a name that we've used forever. But we also do FTP, file transfer. So if you're connected on the network, you can grab that file and pull it across. And then the other thing we have is the ability to do email attachments. And that can be end of shift type. Push the data out that way so that nobody has to go gather it. It just automatically shows up at the right people's computers.
And I see that there's a second box here.
Yes.
Does that lend itself into the data collection portion of this?
That is what we call our data concentrator box.
Okay.
And so this box, the main OEE station, is intended to be a work cell. So it's going to be a one cell visualization.
Okay.
So the operator can see the light on top tells anybody walking near it or across the plant what's happening at that work cell. What the data concentrator does is it collects data from up to 32 of the work cells.
Right.
And then it'll let them use that to show plant-wide type visualization. So on that screen you can see the plant-wide visualization. I've only got one cell active on there, but 2 that are not active. So you could put up to 32 of them on this data concentrator.
So pretty scalable. So you can have 1 to 32 with a single data collector.
Correct. And then you can have as many data collection devices, data concentrator devices as you'd like. When we talk about the Workcell connection to the data concentrator, it's as simple as having an Ethernet cable that plugs into the external Ethernet port, going over to the data concentrator and plugging in. So it's an RJ45 to RJ45 connection. And in most cases, in a plant application, there'll be a switch that's going through.
Great. And then behind Meldia, what do we have on the large screen?
So inside the data concentrator, what it does is it has WebMI built into it.
Okay.
And the WebMI is projecting that screen out for anybody to remotely see and visualize. So this would be simulating, showing a large plant-wide display that's projected up so anybody in the plant can see what's going on everywhere in the plant.
Okay.
And the other thing, since it's a Wi-Fi device, any smartphone, smart tablet, industrial computer, laptop can all visually see that same screen. So you have remote visualization whether they're at work or at home. They can see what's going on at the plant.
And does Horner Automation have an app that they could connect to that
So,
with?
and the app would be a really good accessory add-on for a play if you had multiple data concentrators. If you had just one,
Okay.
the app really doesn't play as well.
Okay.
But if you had multiple data concentrators, that would absolutely be a very good fit for seeing visualization. You'll also notice that my OEE box is changing colors and blinking at us.
Yeah.
And so throughout the presentation, I'm going to be reaching around and touching some buttons. But what's happening right now is my timeout has occurred.
Okay.
And so it has come up and told the operator, hey, you're not running, you're down. And it's asking me on the screen, why am I down? So I'm going to just pick a machine maintenance and assign that. And so now it's logging downtime to machine maintenance is what it's doing at the moment. So this light tells me, the yellow light says that I'm not at goal, but I'm not far from goal. And the fact that it's blinking means I'm not running.
Sure.
That's the indication that this tells me. As soon as I hit the cycle complete button, it's gone to solid yellow because I'm now running again.
Sure.
I've still not hit my quota. So if I hit the cycle complete button number of times, I've gone to green, which means I'm now at quota for the shift or the part.
And this is a configured system for a manual application.
Yeah, so this would be a completely manual work cell showing how that would, and that would be no different if it was triggered by a sensor.
Sure.
It would just automatically create that.
Seems like a very great product.
Yeah, we're excited. We've had a lot of really good feedback with this so far.
I think I'm going to have Meldia jump in here and go a little bit deeper into the OEE portion of this product and see if we can find a little bit more information about it.
That's great. I look forward to having some experience and someone that's dealt with this OEE product and machine manufacturing information.
Sure. Well, the first thing that anybody asks you about before they invest money into your system is what is the data? So do you have any improvement data from early adopters of this product already?
So first question, what is the data? All of our data is stored inside the controller in a CSV file format. So that CSV file format is easy to transfer and for people to analyze that data, do their reports and projections on where things are at. But the key to this is we data log everything to each downtime reason code. And so therefore they have not only solid data, but they have the right data for them to make good decisions on how to improve. So we can give people all the information in the world. Ultimately, at the end of it, they're the ones that are going to make decisions on improvement. And so far what we've seen is, yes, we've seen a lot of improvement in a lot of products, not products, but their processes that they develop and what they're doing. But again, it's up to them to make that decision. It's not, we don't make the decision on the improvement.
Yes, that makes sense. So in that, you mentioned a little bit about how some floors were able to get this system up and running in, you mentioned 20 minutes in one case. But what does the setup of the hardware generally look like when you're going out onto the plant floor?
So yeah, the way we do this, I mentioned earlier also that we don't, the customer never touches Seascape, our programming software, which means that their setup time is completely done through the front of the screens. So there's probably about 10 or 15 screens that you go through to set up. You set up your plant identification and the name of the plant, the name of the work cell. You set up your shifts and your days a week and your shifts per day. You set up all those parameters and then the times per shift. And then there's a part configuration where you can go in and set up individual parts, which tells you how is that trigger being generated. Is it a manual trigger? Is it an automated sensor trigger? And in the future, we'll have a communication trigger that'll come from some type of communication, Modbus, TCP, Ethernet, IP. And then also, they have the ability to do scrap triggers, but they also set the red, yellow, and green light parameters, or your OEE percentages, right? And so those are set for the three parameters that are in OEE, the availability, the production, and the quality. Mm-hmm. And so all three of those are set as goals. And we set the green and red light. The yellow light obviously is the one that's in between. Mm-hmm. And then once we have all three of those parameters configured, the OEE part is automatically configured.
So you mentioned quality. So are you saying that this system goes a step further than knowing if the machine is actually creating product all the way to is that good product?
Yes. So we have a scrap trigger in there, and so that can be either a manual trigger and or a sensor trigger, just like the cycle complete. And so every time we do a cycle complete, it is a total count. Total count always stays total count. And then when you have a scrap part, it pulls out of that, so you then have a good parts, bad parts. And the bad parts then are the quality calculation.
That's great. And then, so I guess my next question is that right now a lot of lean facilities are really trying to push themselves to that next step with the maintenance department, getting that planned maintenance and the predictive maintenance into their systems.
Sure.
Is this tool something that you can use to take your plant to that level of maintenance prediction?
So we've done it a little differently in the first release of this. We've added a little piece of lean manufacturing into this, which is a operator call. And so the reason we've done that is when we first went out and started talking to people about this, there was a lot of concern about the operators feeling like this was Big Brother watching over me. And so what we did is we introduced the ability for the operator to, one, for them to flag the system as down. And so if they flag it as down, they're not the ones being blamed for not making parts because they're telling you why they can't make parts. So that was their empowerment. But we've also given them the empowerment to call for help, which is the question that you had asked. And so we let them do a call for maintenance, a call for raw materials, and a call for supervisor. And what we do on those calls is that's all pre-programmed emails that, again, through those setup screens that they would enter in. But we have a timer that starts when that message gets requested for help. And an email gets sent out, and they have to come back and acknowledge that they got that message. Doesn't mean that they solved the problem yet, but they've acknowledged that they've got it. And if they haven't acknowledged it, it escalates the email to the next level up. And so it will go to their supervisor. And then if that time's out, it'll escalate to the plant manager level so that the operator themselves are the one not being blamed for the lack of help that he's requested. So those two parameters have given the empowerment for the operator to do those type of functions.
And to acknowledge that, is that an acknowledgement on the machine itself or an acknowledgement via email?
Today it's an acknowledgement through the front of the screen.
Awesome.
So they have to actually go to the site, to the workstation to.
So aside from the electronic notification that they'll get via email, they're also notified directly from the box and on the monitoring screens, correct?
Correct. That isn't so much of a notification as it is a visualization.
Okay.
And so what you're referring to is if the operator was to come in here and if they hit the call function and they come over here and select, in this case I'm going to say call for raw materials, we get the blinking blue light. Now the materials guy may be nowhere near this, so he may not see this. So therefore it's really truly not a notification as it is a visualization. And if he sees the blue light, it doesn't say this is call for material. This could be just I need help. So it's a visualization of help, but not an individual call.
Sure. And then somebody can potentially be monitoring this dashboard as well in a completely different part of the facility.
Right, and so that, yeah, and that could be area managers, production engineers. If they see that somebody's requesting that blue call and it's blinking, that means nobody's acknowledged that request for help.
All right. So Tom, sometimes I have seen different people who need to complete audits on their line, either for uptime, downtime, or other issues. Is there a way to pull that data directly from the system?
There is, and it's part of the data log, but there's also a good visualization representation of that. So from this operator screen, I'm going to go back to the home screen, which is the main power-up screen. And a couple of things that we have built into this already. One of them is the downtime accumulation. And so what this shows you is the total accumulated downtime for this shift. And if you wanted to go back and look at shift 1, 2, or 3, you can look at the daily shifts for that. But really, it's just a good real-time number of what the downtime for each reason code in the system at this point in time. That's a very useful tool. And then the other one we have the ability to look at is the trending tool. This gives you the ability to look at the overall OEE trending, but it also gives you the availability trending, the production trending, and the quality trending. So you can look at each screen individually to see what's been happening throughout the shift.
So that seems like a really great tool for a group who wants to do root cause analysis. Was it material availability? Was it something to do with the machine itself,
Correct.
et cetera? That's
Correct.
awesome.
And the AP and Q, the availability, production, and quality, is to look at it and say, what's driving my OEE down?
Exactly.
Because it's probably going to be just one of them, not all of them.
Yes.
Wow, looks like we have an alert here. So it's time to go and figure out what's going on with our system. Thanks for joining us here today at PowerMation YouTube channel. Meldia, thank you so much for putting the heat on the OEE solution.
Great questions.
A little bit
Anytime.
on Tom, yeah. Tom, again, thank you so much for all of
Appreciate
your
it.
help.
Thanks for having me in.
Yeah, and you subscribers, thanks for joining. And make sure, if you're not a subscriber, to like and subscribe. See you next time.